I'm Gabe Lullo, and welcome to the Do Hard Things podcast. We're talking to go-to-market leaders and entrepreneurs who have conquered the challenges, the hustle, and the grind. Get ready for real talk, real insights, and no fluff.
But the hardest thing in the world right now is not actually closing deals, it's actually getting somebody's attention.
If you don't have that hook in that first 5 to 10 seconds, guess what? They're going to scroll to the next one.
You need to go in and you need to make it sound like yourself. That's the biggest piece of the puzzle. And I promise you, we can all tell.
The people that are trolls and the people that are haters never done the thing that you're doing.
I love doing this podcast because I get a front row seat to some of the greatest minds in sales.
Gone are the days of saying stay in your lane. When you're an executive leader and you're an enterprise-wide leader, there are no lanes. You've got to be partners.
Curiosity is like when the type of questions you ask is sometimes the value that you bring.
I need you to tell me when you're ready to buy or what you're ready to do. And I think it's changed so much into like adding more value. And if you're not doing that, then you're definitely going to come off as desperate.
High pressure selling is like a dinosaur tactic at this point.
No parent is like, oh, you should be a salesperson when you grow up, right? Everyone's like a doctor, lawyer, whatever crap. It's never salespeople.
It's not your job to motivate people. It's your job to find motivated people.
It's not cockiness. It's not arrogance. It's confidence knowing I know this and I know that I can help you.
From where I started to where I am today is all because I learned how to sell.
And there's too many people who have only been doing this for 5 freaking minutes. Sit down, close your mouth, actually go out there and get yourself beat up. Then come back and tell me if something is dead or not.
That is exactly why I started this podcast, because right there, that's the epitome of doing hard things.
Welcome back to the Do Hard Things podcast with Lexi and Gabe. Today's guest, Candice, is a holistic practitioner, energy healer, and retreat facilitator who helps high achievers rebuild from the inside out. Her clients often come to her at a crossroads, successful on paper, but slightly unraveling beneath the surface. They've hired the coaches, read the books, followed the strategies, yet something still feels off. Through what she calls grounded spirituality, Candice blends energy medicine, nervous system regulation, and a deep inner work to help clients gain clarity, break generational pattern, and build lives that actually feel aligned, not just look good from the outside. Candice, welcome to the show.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Do Hard Things podcast with your hosts, Gabe and Lexi. We are so excited. We just heard your bio, Candice. Welcome to the show. We're so pumped that you're here. How are you?
Oh, doing great. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to dive into my favorite topic.
Yes, I mean, Do Hard Things is our show, and it's amazing. I know your story. We just heard a little bit about your bio, of course, and so the audience now knows a little bit about your story. But we want to hear it from you, right? We want to know, what is this origin? What is this path to energy work? Because I'm really curious, right? What led you to this energy medicine, holistic healing? Where was there a moment that you actually realized this is the work you were going to do and meant to do? Or was it, a lightning bolt that struck you? Did you kind of fall into this? I'm just so curious. Take us through your origin story.
Yeah, so I always say that what got me into this work was a lot of life experiences that led me directly to it, but I suffered from mental health my entire life. So it started, in my early teens, and I had severe depression then. And it would carry me into later on in my life where I would just have a lot of different really difficult circumstances and situations. To just really kind of fast forward, I was in a pivotal moment in my life where I just knew I had to really pull myself together and do life differently. And so it was 10 years ago that I really started doing the inner work, working through different layers of what I had been through. I was in a domestic violence marriage at one point. So there was a lot of rebuilding of my identity. And then fast forward, where I started doing energy work was that I had two major losses in my life come forward. And one was my, abusive spouse who did end up taking his life. And then the other was my children's father. And it all happened within a span of a year. And a lot of processing, a lot of things I was trying to really backward track. You always think you're on good momentum until life hits you with another unexpected event. And it was then that I found my practitioner. And to describe it, I felt love and support on a level I never knew existed. And it was everything that I needed in that moment to feel safe and supported to work through what I had been through. And it was just the missing piece. I had literally tried everything. I was on top of my nutrition, I worked out, I did the journaling, I had the therapist, and I was still feeling so stuck in my experience. And that's what really opened the door for me to truly honor and value who I am as a person, not as somebody who's doing something on the external.
Thank you for sharing that story. I know it's very powerful and a lot to unpack. And you describe yourself as someone who practices grounded spirituality. Can you break that down for that and what that actually means and why is it so important for you?
Yeah, so what I noticed in doing this work and working with so many clients is many people seek spiritual experiences, not realizing that they're just using it as another form of escapism. And it's not intentional. It's not like they're out there like, hey, I just don't want to deal with this. But it's because we've built that community understanding around what spirituality actually is. And so, what I do, because I do holistic practices that really focus on the root cause, so we're not looking away, we're actually looking in. A lot of it's helping people ground back into the physical body so that they can feel safe and supported to do the inner work instead of feeling like they're just going up here and like everything's great. I'm just going to meditate. It's all going to go away. When in reality, that does not, it is not how it works because there are practitioners that do the energy work and that's all you go in for. But in my practice, we're really working through the layers of the experience so that we can finally break free of those patterns and truly move forward in life.
Yeah, that's quite remarkable, frankly. So you've said that you are using spirituality, or people should be using spirituality really as a tool for integration versus what many people are doing, which is an escape, really.
Mhm.
What does that actually look like in practice, and how do you help people shift out of that pattern?
So, a lot of it again starts with knowing who we are at the root of who we are. So, the very basic foundational understanding of what are my values? What am I associating in my life? So, a lot of it is listening for me as a practitioner. I'm listening to the language that people are using. So, what are the stories? What are the moments in their life that really dictate how they live their life currently? Whether that's financial, relationships, your career, it all your partner, it all comes together to create the experience you currently live in. And we tend to repeat patterns and cycles because it's what we know and we're physically, energetically aligned to those experiences. So we resonate, our body physically resonates at an energy frequency. That's why sound healing works because it helps you really attune to that frequency and kind of shift the energy within you. And the same thing with energy medicine is that energy medicine is the vehicle of support, is how I like to look at it. It's a tool that we can tune into at any given moment. I'm no really not anything special. I just learned how to tune in and use these practices. And that's what I help clients understand is how do we connect back in with the very essence of our energy? How do we understand who we are? So a lot of the ways that we're helping clients is to be able to look at their life, really fine tune what it is that they actually want, not what the world tells them that they need, and to bridge that gap in understanding so that they're living a life that they love to be in. And on the energy side of things, is once we've identified these patterns as a practitioner, I go in and I reset the energy signature. So, allowing the body to align with a new frequency, a new energy. And from there, it's the person's choice. It's still their choice to really move forward. A couple of examples that I can give is that if you are okay with this, is that I work with a client who's in her 70s, which is not my typical client. Usually they're in between 40 and 50. But essentially she came to me because she had autoimmune disease. And in working together, we've identified these patterns that she's been carrying since she was in her 20s and even before then, which is where all of her disease started was in her 20s. I cannot imagine carrying the energy for that long. But in doing this inner work and finding the internal patterns and the internal belief systems, we've been able to help her body physically heal. So her doctor has now showed her the results, but then her vibrancy for life has come back. So much so that she's considering like dating again, which isn't something that she ever thought she would do. There's so many different ways that we can really shift our perspective of our life and our perspective of ourself that really helps do all of this work and make it work for us.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of people can be skeptical about energy medicine. How do you explain what you do and what actually shifts to someone who's a curious but also hesitant about going forward?
Yeah, I love this question because it's so absolutely natural. And the really unique thing is we are starting to see a shift in understanding what these practices are, which has really been helpful. I've been a practitioner 4 years now, and I've seen people become more curious in the last year alone, which is exciting. I like to bridge the science meets spiritual. So, in science, we know that everything has and creates energy. We cannot deny that. Same thing within our energetic field. And as you start learning, I use the chakra system as a roadmap. So it's really easy for me to see where your energy is quote unquote resonating. And a lot of it is through listening to the experience of the lifetime. Because each layer has to do with different developmental stages. And a little fun fact about me is when I was in college for her early childhood development, which has really informed and shaped from the psychology standpoint of why we are the way we are and how we operate. So, as we're looking at the whole system, so that's why I say holistic practitioner because I'm not only just looking at the energy, I'm looking at the lifestyle and the experiences that they've held. Then we can really build the map forward of, okay, here's where we are finding and pinpointing that this is not only an internal belief of yours, but this is something that's been carried for generations. And so, how can we, really reform the connection point and the associative patterns that we've built over time? And then on the energy side, that's where it gets a little bit woo, I can say. It's then there's no easy way to put it. But essentially, I'm connected in with someone's higher self and their energetic field. They've tested this in science. They have measured practitioners in separate rooms. It is an absolute thing that has been concretely, put out on the table. So essentially, I connect in and I'm helping to really just channel the energy and allow their body to flow differently. And again, it's all about intention because anybody can do this. It's just tuning into the energy that is within all of us. But the added layer is again, you feel if you're in a session, you basically feel as if you have this warmth surrounding you. Sometimes the body will get cold depending on if you have a lot of inflammation, especially. So, people usually, I say, grab a blanket because you're probably going to be cold the first time. And in session, they're in a meditation. So I'm doing the work, there's music playing, they're relaxing. And I even have a client who his Apple Watch records a 27-minute nap every single time we do this work. So it's so fun when you get those little nuggets of like confirmation. But then afterwards, it's the integration. So allowing your body to think of it like a massage. When you get a massage, your body is going through release. And so you have to do different things to prepare the body for that. So, extra water, nutritional meals, being out in nature, grounding, those kind of elements really help supplement and support the integration period after a healing session.
So our audience are mostly, and all I would say at least all of them I know are high achievers, right? They're extremely motivated. They are, just always in a performance mindset. They're judged based on their level of output. They're compensated based on, results. And so these types of individuals typically, show a lot of success on the outside, but I know myself included over the years, have a totally different thing that's going on the inside than on the outside, right? Especially when you're trying to lead people and not show fear, doubt, and worry to your team, and show strength to the people following you. So why do you think there's such, a common experience right now, especially amongst high achievers that are going through that all the time?
Well, so a couple of things happen in our life. High achievers, I'm one of them. We are people who have been hyper independent most of our life. And so we just do, we don't even think about it. And then we're expected to do even more because that's our, not only our personality, but what we have really put out into the world. Like, I can do it, I can go, and I can go forever. So, a lot of that means that they're really disconnecting from the inner wisdom that is within us. So, our physical symptoms when we need rest or when we need to pivot, all the way down to, can I really be heard and seen as my full self? So, when I'm thinking about high achievers, the biggest common, denominator is that when they're going to speak, when you come from a grounded state of understanding, meaning you are so firm in who you are and you have a confidence level that speaks energetically to the whole room, you then move people in the direction that you're already trying to take them. So, the more that you're in tune with your own energy and yourself, the more that you embody that, the easier it is to deliver a hard conversation in a way that's supportive of both you and the receiver because you're in tune. You're paying attention to body language. You're actually demonstrating that you might have a vulnerability moment, but you're still confident that everything's going to work out. And so it is an energetic shift that happens. We talk about it as like executive presence, but how can we embody that presence and really deliver in a way, again, that guides the person on the other side? I was in sales most of my career. And so a lot of that is being able to communicate in a way that people hear you and demonstrate the value. It's no different when we're doing it for ourselves. And that's something that we have to come back to understand over and over again. And again, when you just have that very rooted, grounded connection point for yourself, no matter what comes forward, maybe you need processing time. So give yourself that, but then you can confidently like ground in and say, okay, what do I need to say next? And how can I listen even deeper whenever they respond so that I can then integrate the conversation and allow it to go forward in a direction that will shift what is happening. So why I see the struggle, the internal struggle is a lot of lack of connection with themselves and living externally, meaning living based on the expectations of others. Now, I often say we don't have to Jerry Maguire moment our life. We don't have to be like, I'm out, I'm no more here. Because sometimes those jobs are really great and you do really well at it. So instead, how about just get to know yourself a little bit better so that when you go to present or do these things, you can do so with a confidence that you never knew you had.
Yeah, that's awesome. And most of your clients find you during a time of transition. What is it about those in between moments that makes people finally ready to do this deeper work with themselves?
Yeah, well, transitions are hard. They're usually these moments where, especially right now, where we're seeing people go through massive shifts of identity with a job loss or whatever that looks like in this season. It could be a divorce, it could be even a child being born. Like, that's a huge transition in your life that not everybody's prepared for. I don't think anyone's prepared for that. But, anyways, I digress. The big reason why people come into this work is because they're finally ready to feel better. I think all of my clients come in, they're exhausted. Their schedules are overpacked. They don't have a break for even their own well being. So, even getting on my calendar feels like a challenge at first. But then they start to understand how and why it's so valuable to take care of ourselves because it changes everything. It's you're allowed to say no when it's out of alignment and and have the ability to decipher that no. I think that a lot of times the closer we get into understanding again the signals that our bodies are giving us, the easier it is to allow our no to be a no and our yes to be a yes. And people come in this moment of transition mainly because they need it. They are just at a place where they've tried just about everything and they want to throw the towel in. They might want to quit the job. They might want to quit the marriage, but they just know that there's a little bit of a fighting chance. And that key is them, and they don't even realize it.
So this is incredible, and I know there's going to be a lot of people reaching out to you after this show is aired. Walk us through what a typical client would expect, right? So what's that journey look like when working with you, and where does that usually start, and then how does it typically progress to the end?
Yeah, the great thing about working with me is most clients see me about 6 or 7 sessions, and then they might check in here and there from there. What it looks like coming into a session is I do an assessment before to see where you're starting and what you're truly coming in for. And then prior to the session, I sit in a meditation and really tune into, okay, what does this person need for me to help them move through this? When we hop on, I give you and deliver that message. It has never been off. It's so funny when I first started doing it. I always like thought, oh, this is so weird to say. But, anyways, so then we walk through again that discovery portion. Why are you actually here? What is it that you're trying to work on? And then we start diving into those again, the root causes of what are maybe causing you to feel tired, burnt out, disconnected, and really just feeling a lack of vibrancy in your life. From there, we do the meditation portion where I'm doing the energy work. And then I have a follow up process that allows people to fully integrate. So they have follow up steps, not homework. It's not like you have a bunch of work to do, but how can we take this work that we've just done and actually integrate it into your life in a way that's sustainable? And most people come in with very specific goals and they might not even understand fully what they need. But in that discovery portion, I'm able to help them discover that.
That's awesome. And you've talked a lot about building a safe inner foundation before anything else. Why is the nervous system work so critical to the kind of transformation that you really facilitate with your clients?
Well, so our nervous system really dictates how our entire life operates, whether we recognize it or not. So, most of the time, we're not getting the right nutrition because of our nervous system. It's where we see a lot of disease present itself because, again, dysregulation means that you're fighting for resources. So, that could be everything from your breath to your actual physical nutrition. So, think of your organs. Like the organs might be barely just getting enough to get by, and you're not actually able to sustain life long term. Also, your energy, so polyvagal theory allows us to understand that our nervous system actually matches energetically those that we're most around. And so it's why you might like walk up to a person who's all anxious and you're like starting to feel your heart beat out of your chest. It's because we naturally sync up, and whoever has a firmer foundation in themselves will be the one that kind of overrides the other. Also the reason why you might be around somebody and you're feeling anxious and then you have this overwhelming sense of calm. Same thing. So again, it's not that there's ever a perfect nervous system. We live in the world that we live in. So life is always throwing us something that we have to deal with. But when we get to a state of awareness where we're not using that same system as a fight mode every single day, all day long, which is what causes heart disease, it's what causes failures within other systems, then we're able to utilize that system for an actual danger that we have coming at us. Like if you're in Africa, like all the friends that we know have been, and there's a lion that comes in, then you might need that work. But for everyday typical life, we don't typically need that. And so getting back into that regulated state, while it doesn't need to be perfect for the high achievers that are out there, like penciling in, how do I do this perfectly? We can create a better system for ourselves to understand when we need to recalibrate. And it's a progress, it's a practice. And something that came out of another conversation actually is that stillness is really challenging for us because think about it, when we were kids, when was the only time that we did stillness? When we were in trouble. Like, for the most part, it wasn't like we were excited to be in the corner, right? So, we have to relearn the patterning of this is safe to be, and this is what's going to help me. And that's where we really see those changes going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're now working with a client, what are those typical things that you see, maybe those blockers or those common patterns that you see in clients when they first come to you that you have to unpack with them?
So, a lot of them are different relationship patterns. So, it might be a disjointed relationship in their familial life, or they've had a lot of suppression. So, meaning they have really not been able to fully be who they are in their world. Maybe they were somebody super creative and someone told them that they had to go be a doctor, or they were very vibrant as a child and they were told to be quiet. Maybe they have ADHD, like 98 million people do, and they were told that they could not be, in the same setting as others because they needed to slow down a little bit. Any way that we look at it, a lot of people are coming in with the inability to fully be themselves. And it doesn't mean that we have to go out and be just completely like no care about who we are. It's a different form of understanding who we are in a way that is supportive of others as well. And so again, they're coming in to uncover the layers of what is keeping them from doing so. And so the common themes that I see are a lot of people have a lot of clutter in their life. They're people who have maybe a hard time having organized thoughts or even following through. A lot of them lack vision follow through, and a lot of them lack the ability to confidently speak. I work with so many people who are in speaking or trying to get into that space. And it's like, how can we help you formulate your voice because you are so confident in who you are as a person first? And then the message gets easy, right? And maybe they're not even on a stage, they just need to go and talk in front of their peers. So, a lot of this work is finding and fine tuning the very things that are our limiting beliefs and patterns. And again, I've seen so many people come in with something that they thought was a hindrance that actually was what opened everything up. Prime example, I work with a chiropractor who's in Canada, and he was an immigrant from Japan. So back and forth between Japan and Canada all the time. Language was a huge barrier for him growing up. And when he was in swim practice, he would just watch the movement of people so that he would know what to do. And back then, that was a limiting belief to him. And what I did is I opened his awareness to see, yes, but think about the work that you do now. You're constantly looking at the movement of others, and you're building technology that's going to help them move easier. So sometimes just having that small reframe and awareness helps people open up and accept themselves more.
And when people are coming to you, do you see specific careers correlate to certain patterns um, across different industries?
Yes. It's kind of so a lot of people that I work with who are in the medical field, for example, a lot of them are private practice owners. And so they went through a lot in 2020. And there was a lot of burnout, there was a lot of disconnection and overwhelm. And now their practices are struggling to keep the doors open because there have been just different policy changes and things like that. But also, on the energetic side of things, they have associated their business with overwhelm, stress, and burnout. And so they're not actually wanting anybody else to come in the doors. They're actually wanting rest and they're not giving it to themselves. They're actually doubling down on all the things. How can I, create more wealth and abundance? And so we go in and we recognize the pattern exists, and then we help guide them into different practices that can help them find more rest. Same thing with other organizations, coaches. I work with a lot of coaches who are just not seeing either clients come in or they're really struggling to get things in the momentum going. And it's that they haven't built the confidence in what they're doing. And it usually relates with something from their past. And or they're doing other things that just aren't helping. You got to let people know what you do first. But anyways, a lot of the patterning is from previous experience. And so, again, I always say, awareness brings clarity that allows us to take aligned action forward. So sometimes just seeing things for the first time and really acknowledging it is half of the healing right there.
Yeah, so you mentioned business, so let's kind of switch gears into that because I think it's so important for our audience to hear this. You offer business alignment coaching, right? And how does that energy really translate into business strategy? And what does, aligned business, as you said, actually mean in your world for your clients?
I'm so glad you asked this because I am the person that people are like, I wish I had met you before I started diving into business coaching. And let me explain why. I think we need business coaches, right? And we also need the personal alignment side of things. So when you come into just starting a business or you have a business, if you don't know the clarity going into it, which is usually year one anyway, you're figuring out life, right? But if you have personal alignment, so you know what you want, how you want to do it, and what it looks like, then you can translate that into your business and have that be a reflection of those same values and experiences and expectations. So, a lot of it, again, we start with the personal alignment, clearing out the gunk, clearing out the old mindsets like, I can't make money doing this. All the things that we think of and believe and or that they have to do it a certain way. A lot of people are being trained to have the sales funnel to, do the group coaching first. It's all just a mess. It's like wait, find what you want to do and then start building those things because it's not going to make any sense when you can't convey the message with confidence because you aren't even bought into it yourself. So, looking at business, we then also look at the energy connection within our business because, again, our business has a purpose. It has a whole divine being of itself, right? And so, essentially, again, what have you connected in with your business on? Are you resisting it growing? And truly look at it. Do you, every time you go to put out an offer, do you feel like it's not going to work out? People can feel the energy of the other side of the screen, whether you realize it or not. So when you're going to build a course, if you're doing it out of scarcity, it will not sell. If you're going to build a product and it's done because you have to do this, not going to sell. It might sell a little bit, but think about how much more wealth you could bring in when you deliver something that you 100% align with. People feel it, they know it. And so that's a lot about what we're doing and we get them to a place where they might be ready to hire the person like you guys that will actually build the leads and all that because I don't want to do that stuff. That's not where I love to do. But that's the thing is like we have a good synergy going in because people then know what it is they actually want to do. And that's the biggest thing that I help clients with is the confidence piece, the clarity piece, and just doing the things because we will create our own self-sabotage over and over and over again every time we go to up level. Every time I watch clients and they're like, well, I'm about to go do this really big thing and now I'm getting nervous. Now I might step back and I'm like, lean in harder because this is when you're about to change everything.
I love that. That's amazing. And you're booking retreats for spring 2026. What can you tell us about that vision? What kind of experience are you creating and who's it for?
Yeah. So, fun fact just held a retreat in October, the first week of October, and I launched my second one for January. And in less than 2 weeks, it was fully booked with 14 people. So, I am celebrating that because it was, again, me just leaning in when I was getting nervous. I'm like, maybe I should do this. No, I don't know. I just held one. Anyway, so I'm really excited for that. But these retreat experiences are for people who want to first build that connection within themselves, but then also build a community connection. So when I put these together, the initial round is all private invite only because again, it's about creating the right energy in the right rooms. And so that's a lot of where it starts. Now, I also do retreat facilitation where people hire me to put together the experience and bring in the community members that I know that can do these different tools and practices and be able to supply all of that so you're not having to do all of that work. And again, all of these retreat experiences are built to help you build a better life. Most of the clients that I work with are high performers, entrepreneurs, people that are doing really big work in the world who very rarely take time for themselves. The coolest part is getting to see the transformation on the other side. So people left and had different experiences of connection, but each one of them went out to create something different that they weren't expecting which brought them a different layer of wealth, which was really fun. And just the community that they built while they were there too. So a lot of it, again, is just about how can we create better energy within ourselves to create a better energy within our community.
Candice, you're amazing. Thank you so much for coming. I have one last question for you because
Sure.
there's a lot of people that are feeling stuck, that are at this point where, they may be feeling like they're doing all the right things, but they're just not having that peace or that clarity. What's your recommendation for them as a first step that they should take? And I know, you mentioned doing hard things throughout this the entire thing. Is it hard? Is it difficult to make that first step? What should they be doing?
I don't think it's hard when you're ready. I think it might be intimidating, and that's a lot of that process is don't be afraid to see what's on the other side of the mirror. I think so often somebody told me this weekend, and I hope to leave this with you guys too, that the past version of yourself deserves to be loved just the same as your current self. And I had never thought of it that way. And when you think about it, that past version of you went through all the stress, the struggle, and the strain so that you don't have to now. And so honoring that version while you're living in this current state. But I think the biggest thing that you can do for yourself is to start to tune in, knowing that meditation or any kind of inner work can be challenging. And I often relate it with running because most of the time when you're running, your heart is beating fast. And when you go to stop, it doesn't just stop right away. It takes time to recalibrate. Same thing with your brain when you go to do meditation. It's a practice. So give yourself 5 minutes instead of 50. You don't have to sit at the mountain for 12 days to get the benefits of meditation, and allow it to slowly come into place for you.
Thank you so much for all the advice. We're really excited to get this out to our audience. Who is the best person that should reach out to you and where should they do so?
Yeah, so the person that should reach out to me has already been doing inner work. They know that they want to do even more in their life, and yet they just can't see the pathway forward. And they might be in that transitional period where they do want to Jerry Maguire their life. And we're going to try to bring you back down and not do that. The best way to connect with me is I'm very active on LinkedIn. It's Candice Van Detholen, really super easy. And I'm happy to have a conversation from there.
Awesome, Candice. Thank you so much for joining us. And to our audience members, keep doing the hard things. And Lexi and I will see you on the next one.